Hey there, listener. Welcome to the Deep Share Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rouse, and for the last couple of decades, I've slowly been opening my eyes to a very different world than the one I grew up hearing about. And the more conversations I have with interesting people, the more mystifying this world becomes. So without further ado, let's get deep.
We've got science to celebrate! Demons bliss now! After what, baby? Come on!
There is rebellion in the wind. It will be crushed.
Everything I've said is true. It's real.
Dinosaur fossils? God put those here to test our faith.
A damn lie. I saw them with my own eye.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
We did illusions, man. None of it is true.
I'm not insane.
This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion.
Welcome back to the Deep Share Podcast. So recently we had researcher and author Duane Hayes on, and we talked a lot about causes and problems and the perpetrators of those causes and problems that we still have today. Tonight we're going to switch gears, and I've invited Duane and his lovely wife Meggan on to talk about solution-based situations that, from personal experience, they have a lot to talk about. They are the owners and operators of Hell's Half Acre Farms, and I am so excited to get into this conversation. I can't wait to present this to you. Duane, Meggan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
Definitely
you
good
guys.
to be here.
So yeah, Duane, last time we talked a lot about a lot of gloomy subjects, and I figured it would be great to have you both on to talk about all the exciting things that you guys have going on, and explain to my audience where it all came from and where it's headed. And I think it's a really amazing thing you guys are doing. So I think let's just dig right into it, man.
Yeah. I think probably a good place to start is at the beginning. And so for anybody that is interested in doing what we're doing, because there's a lot of people doing what we do out there,
Good to hear.
farms are owned by an aging population generally. And so there's opportunities around for everyone. No matter where you live, there's a farm that probably needs a new manager or, a life to have extended. So I'm just going to start with the very first thing that we ever did. This is what we handed out.
And it's flyers.
Yeah, it's a flyer. It was like a threefold little pamphlet that we created just off our printer. And you can see that we were asking people for their backyards because nobody was using their backyards. And so it was really, partly inspired too from Curtis Stone, who's world famous urban farmer, and he happened to just live 2 doors down from us. And so at first we were looking at borrowing or leasing people's backyards. And so we went actually to the first day that we ever actually went out in public as Hell's Half Acre. Meggan, maybe you want to share the first picture of the slideshow that we have, but it's a picture taken of Meggan and I, early April 2016, I think it was. And so, that's actually a little late in the season to start seedings and all of that. So we were a little bit behind. And so we thought, well, let's just get our name out there. And so what we did was we just grew a bunch of pepper plants and a bunch of tomato plants and took some pictures of our products and laminated them all and made a little booth. And we went to this craft fair. And we were really the only ones that were selling plants. Everybody else had crafts. You can see the people in the background there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're entrepreneurial minded, and it was really, the opportunity was given to us from Meggan's sister-in-law. And so, we're forever thankful for that opportunity because everything came from there. And Meggan feel free to jump in here whenever you want.
Yep.
But so we started there, and that was the Saturday, and it was minimal cost to have a booth, and they were nice enough to put us right out front there, and you can see this is what everybody would see when they came into this craft fair.
Oh, they knew what they were doing. You know, this sets the stage. That's like a presentation when you walk into a room. It's going to lure people right in. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and it did, and we weren't really sure as to what was going to happen or what the response was going to be, but we were pleasantly surprised by how many people were interested in selling tomato or purchasing tomatoes and peppers and growing them.
Hmm.
And then so from this first day on the Saturday turned into a Sunday with it wasn't a craft fair. What was it, Megan?
Flea market.
Yeah, it was a flea market. So it was actually a different crowd, Andy. It was like guys selling car parts and stuff. So that we never even got pictures of that, but we should have got pictures. So we were the owner or the organizer of the event that rents the places that they do these craft fairs. She approached us and said, "Hey, if you guys want, there's another day tomorrow." She wasn't organizing it, but she could hook us up with the organizer. That way we didn't have to put away our plants and we could just leave them there for the night and show up the next day.
Oh, perfect.
And so that's really the day that everything happened for us. The neighbor of the farmer that owns the land that we lease now just happened to be there, and he saw the pamphlet and he read it. And at that point, Megan and I hadn't even thought about a farm yet. We just thought about 12 or 13 or 14, 15 backyards. And now when I think a bit about it, it's a little daunting to have. I'm not sure I would have been able to, or we would have been as successful as we are in that environment, having to please 15 different homeowners and their dogs and their kids and all of the extracurricular stuff that comes along with that. We were blessed. Truly, to this day, we feel blessed that Al came along and put us together with the farmer Bob and Janet Tucker, and it's just it's been a win-win-win all the way through from this very day.
Yeah, it seems like if you had to rely on using other people's backyards, it'd be a whole different ball game. You know, it might not be where you are today.
That's
It
right.
may be very different. Just the idea of having that many adults in the mix making decisions or at least like overseeing a situation, that can be a real mess real fast. With the two of you together as a team on your own land that you can deal with every single day, and you're making the decisions, that's clearly a much easier approach or better approach, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I had honestly until that day, I'd never really thought about it,
Hmm.
and we've never thought about doing backyards since.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But I
We,
will say this, that urban farming is a thing, and Curtis Stone made a very good living doing exactly that. So, I'm not sure how he did it. It probably takes a better person than me, but we've been just totally lucky as to, the farm that we just kind of stumbled into, and, it already had a kiosk so we could sell our vegetables through there, even though the first year we didn't, because they were still running the farm, Bob and Janet. They were just 78 or 79 and wanting to get out of farming, and they had one leg out and one leg in, and we were in the same position, 30 years younger and ready to go. And so Bob gave us a little plot of land out front to see if we could prove ourselves. And then by the end of the year, he told us that the next year we could manage the whole farm if we wanted to. And so they moved sort of out of all of the work as we moved in. So
Mhm.
Hmm.
Another thing we've been really lucky with at the farm is the fact that there is so much existing infrastructure. There's a greenhouse to start our plants. There's it's a heated greenhouse. There's the ability to heat it. There's, a large hoop house. What is it, 40 by 100 feet long?
yeah,
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
other,
Dwayne was telling me. Sorry.
Yeah, we're
Duane was telling me about that. Yeah.
yeah, we're really blessed by that. If we were in people's backyards, we wouldn't have that
Right.
ready-made infrastructure. We have Bob with the tractor. We can get him to move stuff for us. The tractor's been a huge saver. Not only that, he has a big tractor, but also there are about 5 or 6 little tractors on the farm that don't run spectacularly. They're quite old, but you know what? They all have their purpose. We have one to hill the potatoes. We have one to, do something else. It's really fun, and it's such a great way to jump into the farming business for us.
Yeah, you get to kind of like use everything that was handed to you, like as much as you possibly can, and get all of its use out. And there's so many of us out here that want to like escape the life that we're not the life that we're in, but the area we're in or the restrictions that we're in, and get some land. I mean, that's my wife and I's goal is to get that. And man, to start in a place that already has a greenhouse would be a dream come true.
Yep.
That's such a huge step in the right direction, and that's awesome. That's fantastic.
because-
I love, just to say real quick, I love the idea that you guys showed up to sell people on the willingness to grow their own food, which is really cool. Not just the idea to sell your vegetables. It was to like kind of sell an idea to someone, which is really cool. I think that's what we need right now.
I think everybody, getting people interested in growing their own food is a massive thing. We've stepped away from that over the last 100 years, and most people think that their food literally grows in the back of Walmart.
Right.
And so, and there's a lot of people interested in growing their own food, and it's such a wide, large market that we didn't feel like we were harming ourselves at all by providing people with the plants to grow their own fruit and vegetable. And that's really our message, that everybody can do it. We're not special. We were given the opportunity, and we had the mindset of creating something. So maybe, Meggan, can you flip to the next picture?
Sure, I've got just a variety of pictures of kind of on the farm life.
Oh, bring them on. This is inspiration.
This is first year stuff here.
This is the very first plot that we were given by Bob. We call it A block now. Everything's numeric or alphabetically listed at the farm. So this is A block. This was our very first year. So we've changed quite a bit of stuff over the years. These are 50-foot beds, and we actually broke them into 25-foot. You can see kind of a walkway in between. They're going from the camera person to me. I'm watering there. So we've changed that. We do just 50-foot beds now, but this was our first year.
And the reason why we did that was because we wanted to be able to provide as many vegetables as we could. And so in that A block, we were only given, I think there's only 16 full-length beds there. So we cut them in half and made them all 25 feet. And we're able to, because when you're growing arugula or something that's high rotation, you have to have a bed seated while you're harvesting another one, and you're thinking about planting another one. So this picture was taken when we were really just trying to figure things out. Meggan had a little more growing experience than I did. I really hadn't grown anything in my life before. So everybody, that's valuable information. This can happen, but you just have to, there's a lot of failures, a lot of learning experiences, what we call them, to get us here. This is our 6th year going in, and this is where it all started. And the other fortunate thing too was that Bob was there too. Yeah. So he was able to actually, he came to me on the first year and said, your potato patch is almost gone. And I didn't know what he meant, but by the time I got down there, he'd shown me what a potato or Colorado potato bug was. And I'd never even been introduced to one. And because I just trusted that the potatoes were doing fine down in the corner of the farm, I left it for a few days, and they just about decimated the whole crop. So that was when we learned about the Colorado potato beetle. And, Bob and Janet have been super helpful that way in teaching us things and ways. And you'll see through this slideshow that we show some of the stuff that has helped us along the way.
Man, I mean, it always comes, failure after failure always breeds more success in the long run.
Yep.
But it does take those failures, and it's so when you're growing food, you really start to understand how like personal it is and painful it is when things fail. Man, it's
Yes.
unbelievable. So you guys give me a lot of hope. You guys being in your 6th year, us going into our 3rd year now, just on a very small little plot. But
Right.
this really shows us, what's possible, because this is a dream come true what I'm seeing in front of me, man.
Yeah. And that's actually really good of you to already have 3 years growing experience to step in. If you were to find an opportunity like this, that's a lot of valuable experience already or sort of accumulated within you. So yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead
I
and
mean,
flip that
start whenever. You don't have
picture,
to
man.
go to school. You don't have to do any of that. You just have to learn from the right people,
Yeah. So you can, there you go. So there's me standing in D block.
Yeah.
That's all tomatoes there. And then there's a tree you can see just randomly growing out of there. And so this is kind of the state that the farm was in. And so we've done a lot of changes. We've kept it up too because, Bob and Janet were farming there for 30 years.
Mhm.
And so, with over 30 years of working, it certain parts become dilapidated. And, in order for us to keep going, luckily for me, and I'm a farmer or a Red Seal carpenter, and Megan's willing to get in there and get dirty and help. So, when things are falling over or breaking down, we get in there and fix them. Another good thing was that Bob basically kept everything for 30 years. And,
Wow.
he had a lot of friends that would just drop off stuff for him, posts and, wires and all this just incredible collection of things. So it's rare that we have to go off the farm to fix stuff. There's just a lot of lumber stored. And so, it's been,
That's so convenient.
Yeah,
yeah,
so convenient.
that's a 1st year picture there too.
Yeah.
It sounds like me. I mean, every time I get a hold of any material that seems useful, I'm like, I don't know where I'm going to put this, but I'm going to hold
Keep
on to
it.
this.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to use it or when I'm going to use it, but
It'll
it
come in
looks like
handy.
it could be useful. Yeah.
Yeah, this could go on a jetpack. We don't even know.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a 2nd year photo because we've got Rip there. She's just a puppy. I was just introducing her to the farm.
Got to have a farm dog.
Yep.
Yeah, German short hair pointer, hunter dog. We wanted that for part of our lifestyle too. And the farm is her favorite place. It's really the only place other than our home here that she knows.
Oh,
She's champing at the bit. We've been at the farm the last couple of days, and she's just been in her glory, running around. It's 2.5 acres total, and basically she's got free range of going wherever she wants, except for the backyard
yeah.
of Bob and Janice because she disturbs the cats, and so we try to respect, Bob and Janet as much as we can.
Absolutely. The Bohemian Cafe.
So Megan, maybe you can tell the story of Bohemian Cafe, how we got hooked up onto the restaurant.
Yeah. So Bohemian Cafe is a little restaurant in town, open for breakfast and lunch, and they do a ton of catering. They do weddings, they do a lot of events in Kelowna. So we figured this was our 1st year. We figured we've got to go get some customers. So Duane and I went downtown, and Duane, you had pictures, I believe, of the salad greens that we were planning on growing. I think we had them seeded, but they were growing still. We didn't have any samples of our salad greens. So Duane went into the Bohemian Cafe and said, "Hey, I'm growing some salad greens. Is somebody interested?" And the owner wasn't there at the time. The owner's name was Hans, and he wasn't there. So Duane left his number, and like 15 minutes later, we were still downtown. Duane had still stopped at another place. He got a phone call, and it was Hans on the phone. And Hans says, "Sure, what can you supply me?" And Duane's like, "I think I can supply you what you need." So, and the rest was history. Honestly, we supplied, and we still do, as much as we can for the Bow. They're busy. They will basically take a ton of salad greens. There's been, I believe we've sent 10, 20 pounds at a time, even for some of their events. But a regular order would have been like between 7 and 10 pounds per week, which is quite a bit of salad greens if you think
Yeah.
about it. So yeah, it's been a great partnership.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
that was the first day really that we went out looking for business, and I just went down the main road here in Kelowna and just stopped in at a lot of establishments, restaurants, stores, etc. And I was, this was a very profound day for me because I had to face my fears, and I thought I was gonna, be told to get lost, but the respect that farmers have in this town, they welcomed us with open arms, and basically, I didn't even know the language. He asked me what kind of salad greens we grew, and I didn't know what to tell him because I didn't even know the names of things. But I'm just telling this story because, it could be inspirational to people. And on the other side of fear was everything that we ever dreamed. And so,
That's always the case.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's been one of the most profound life learning experiences for me. And I was 47 or 48 years old when this happened, and it's really just set us off in this direction, and we've never really looked back. And the market for vegetables grown locally is huge here, and generally, I would say that is the case wherever you go in North America. We still understand that the importance of growing food from the soil and locally. So, it was a fond experience. I always refer back to it. And yeah, we were doing supermarkets for a while there too. And this was really one of the keys was when COVID hit, supermarkets and restaurants were closed. And so we weren't sure what we were going to do. And so maybe you can flip to the next photo. I don't know if the food box, the harvest box that we do is coming up, but that's really what we had to turn to. We were forced to create a harvest box, and we had some close friends, more of Megan's close friends, really got behind us and supported us. And the harvest box, it's been the biggest thing for us, and we basically have built the whole business around that. And we don't really provide to supermarkets anymore. And so people generally come to us, or we deliver on the Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So that's a picture of spinach or arugula there.
It looks super fresh. So yeah, let's get into further detail on the harvest box. Tell people, can this be distributed? Is it just strictly local, or would you have the potential to distribute that further, or like what do you tell us about it?
Yeah, well, I would say that it's local for sure. We are thinking about, the Okanagan Valley here. We're central, and about 50 clicks to the north is another larger city where I'm from, and then about 50 clicks below us is Penticton. And so we are entertaining the thought at this point of providing for Vernon and Penticton. We get a lot of positive feedback and inquiries when we post in April for our food box, and we start promoting ourselves. We get a lot of calls from both those cities. So I would say that, if the demand is there, we would definitely want to go there. This is the valley that we grew up in, and so this is why we chose to stay here and do what we do. And so we would go that far, but we're not shipping anywhere outside of the valley. We're generally, the majority of our customers are from Kelowna, and then I would say out of that, there's a large percentage there in the Glenmore area, in the valley up here in where we are, that come into the farm and pick up.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And so, what's included in one of these boxes? How much are people getting? Like, what's the
box,
what's that?
Just seeing if Megan can find a picture of the food box. We've included 2 or 3 in here.
In a world full of subscriptions, this sounds like a sustainable one.
Yes, this is, we've grown double every year since the start.
Wow.
We started with 13, and they were all friends and family, and we've grown every year. And then last year was really the first year that we had strangers as customers. So that was kind of
Well, that's
fun.
so cool.
Yeah, it was like people we don't know are liking our vegetables. And
Yeah.
so it's seasonal.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that our customers need to know going in, is that, you know, there are providers of vegetables throughout the year, but rare is it that you'll find one that grow just seasonal. You know, they'll bring in a lot of things from, you know, they'll have bananas and oranges and all kinds of things that aren't grown here. We've just decided to stay and show people what is grown throughout the season, because I found it interesting how, you know, especially berries work. They each have their time. They don't all just come on at once. So we don't grow fruit. We were growing some raspberries, but we try to incorporate other people doing sort of similar things as us. We've got hopefully again this year, a strawberry supplier, and he's of the same mind as us in our growing techniques and the reasons for what we do. And so, you know, we find that people are blown away by the taste of food grown from the soil. They're so used to buying things store bought from 1,000 kilometers away that it's a rarity that you eat something, you know, 5 minutes after it's been pulled from the soil. And so that is priceless to us.
The freshness is super important. For our food box, we either harvest the day before or the day of. I mean, you really can't beat that for, like Duane just said, for freshness. Another thing that really, like Duane said, sets us apart is we do grow everything on our farm. There are no other CSAs in the valley. CSA is Community Supported Agriculture is what it stands for. There are no other subscription boxes in the valley that actually grow their own vegetables on their own land. So that definitely sets us apart for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I mean, that's farm to table, no middleman, no nothing. And, you know, I've heard, I can't remember if it was a study on like the blue zones around the world or something else, but they went around and they studied different groups, and they found that like prominently the most healthy people are the ones that are eating the foods seasonally growing in their immediate areas.
Right.
And, you know, this just brings me to so many different topics that I've already been into that involve like us coming from nature. You know, we are like the animals around us. They have habitats, you know. I mean, we move around and we create a lot of artificial habitats around us, but it seems like getting back as close as we can to our natural environments is the most important thing. And it's great when you have an opportunity like you guys have had to, you know, to nourish something like this. This is beautiful. And I think more people are wanting to do this. It feels like that's what's going on out there more than anything is if you want to change people's minds, get at them with their stomachs, you know, and not just flavor wise, and it's also just an immediacy for their children and everything, you know. Do you guys have children?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
Man, you guys have so much time to work on the farm. That's
This year is the first.
We've hired an indentured servant, our 5-year-old. He's now becoming a little farmer himself too, so that's good.
Yeah, and that is really how you close the loop.
Yeah, man.
Is that you raise some boys on the farm and they learn everything, and eventually they take over. And unfortunately for Bob, he had no sons. He just had 2 beautiful daughters. So, you know, in some ways, I'm the son he never had, and so that's really been good for us.
Beautiful,
you know,
man. And who knows, maybe you guys will give your beautiful farm someday to some other, you know, young farmers looking to get into it, you know?
That would be the goal. That would be the ultimate goal, would be to have somebody sort of continue on. That's legacy work that we're talking about. And, you know, this year is the first year that we have an employee. We've had a former customer, or she's still a customer, and she's a friend, and she wanted to come work at the farm with us. And so this year is going to be the first time that she's full-time.
That's great.
So
she gets to learn a lot.
Yeah. And so the picture here that is shown. I wanted to show this because it's this is really how we grow. This is Elliot Coleman, if you've ever heard of him. He's really where this whole ergonomic system comes from, where we grow things to suit the human body. So, tools are created to be able to furrow like this. I wish I had a picture of the actual tool that we use, but it's basically just a rake that I built out of wood, and it's got 7 points on it, and we just drag it through the soil, and those are our furrows. So we seed in there whatever we're going to do. Usually that's going to be carrot, or it can be many things actually. And so they're 50-foot beds, and they're going to be 30 inches wide, so that you can still straddle them, and or you can go down one side and back up the other in a straddle, or in a, what's the term? Squat, in a squatting.
Over it.
Yep. And so those are both really comfortable places for your body to be in. And so, I'd be remiss to not mention Elliot Coleman. This is really the guy that started it all, him and his wife. And then this is where Curtis Stone and J.M. Fortier, they all base their growing in the same way that Elliot Coleman did. And so, we have all of their books, and we learned over time on how to do these things and experience. And it was important for me, especially because I was going through some physical issues on my body. And as a Red Seal carpenter, I was having difficulty staying healthy for longer than 3 months, 4 months before I would slip a disc or something would happen with my back. And so after a while, every time I put my tool belt on, it would be 15 minutes and I could not work anymore. So this provided me the ability to not have that belt on, to work in an ergonomical sort of fashion, friendly to my body. And if I was feeling like I needed a break, I could do that. Whereas, on a job site, they're not going to generally look well upon somebody that just needs to take a break every 15 minutes. So that was actually a big catalyst too, was just my physical issues that I was having years ago. Still am now, but we're working through them. We found some ways to help along, through Pilates and stretching and breathing and techniques that we learned from the farmers too. So,
well, that's great. I mean, people that are used to working with their natural environments, they're working with their natural bodies too to heal themselves, as it should be. This is great.
Picture, Meggan?
I'm curious if my wife's heard of these authors as well, these farmers, because she wants to do this on our future dream property as well.
Right.
Because we have 4 foot by 8 foot beds right now. They're a little bit wider than 4 feet. I think they might be closer to 5. So it's difficult because we've filled those 4 beds on our little property as much as we can,
Right.
and it's a ton of work. It's a huge strain on the human body regardless. So to make it as easy as possible is probably the friendliest way to do this.
This is very key.
You
It's
motivated
very
to
key.
doing it, I mean, I'm a procrastinator and I need to stay motivated, and something more ergonomic like this I can't wait to have my hands on property where we can just design it ourselves like that, and take all the space we need.
Yeah. So are you able to share, Meggan? Are you able to go to the next picture?
Yeah,
Let's see if we.
Can you see that?
It's still the rows with the furrows.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-oh. Internet weirdness, maybe?
If you're having issues, I do have a slideshow here on my file too, but
Let's see. I'm just gonna open it up again and see.
Yeah, see what happens.
yeah, you got to see the harvest box.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about that because of the 3 seasons. Because there are really 3 seasons to the harvest box. There's the early season. So we do a 20-week program. And generally that's about what is done out there. Some will do a little less, maybe an 18-week, and some will actually do a 22-week. but our growing season here in Canada, you're not going to get much longer than that. So are you still looking at your file folder, Megan?
No, I've got it open.
Yeah, so click on a food box photo. Let's see if it's working.
For the listeners, you should go watch this.
Yeah, it's very visual, right?
Yeah. What can you see?
I
I
can't
kept
see the
saying that, and I
thing.
know.
I just see your file folder.
It's the NSA. They don't want this out there.
Well, it's very important for us to have those pictures.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But yeah, so
We can hold off for the moment.
there's really 3 parts to the season, and that's week 1 to 4 or 5. And then, that's really when the summer kicks in, and we'll have over 30 different items to provide into the food box. We do a limit up till the cost of it, and then we sell everything as extras when the customer shows up or when we do our Tuesday deliveries, because we do a Saturday at the farm. And this is really what we encourage everybody to do, is to come to the farm, because how many people have a relationship with the people that grow their food?
Exactly. They always
Very
say to go
few.
meet your butcher. Like, you
Right.
should get to know your farmers too,
Yes. And so that's been important for us too. You talk about, food being an important thing. This was one of the early thoughts that I had, was to be able to talk to people about our current political environment. It would be best on a full stomach. So this is
Damn
really
right.
the concept that I had. Let's have some food together and sit and talk about things. This is really where I think that a lot of the conversations should still be being had. We're being pushed sort of not to talk to our crazy uncles at dinner time at Thanksgiving, but this is really 100 years ago. This is really where a lot of things was ironed out through the family. It was around the dinner table, and there is no better place, as far as I'm concerned, than as breaking bread, enjoying food, made by your mom or your parents or yourself or the whole team, and then sitting down and enjoying that, and then talking about the important things that happened that day, and maybe life lessons that are learned, talking about your failures through the day, because those things happen too. So I see arugula there.
Yes.
So can we get a picture of the harvest box?
Yep, I can see what I can do here.
You might just be able to go back. But... The dog's getting in the way now.
Technical difficulties. That's all right, though. I mean, I think it's also kind of cool that the man that's writing the articles and talking about these extremely delicate topics, when you look into this guy, oh shit, okay, so he's a farmer, he's growing his own food, and he's providing for his community. Interesting. He's not just some weird guy in his basement yelling about the government. Like, he's putting his money where his mouth is, and he's showing how we solve this, which really, when it comes down to it, we could say it in a million ways, but it's more self-sufficiency.
Yeah, and being local and growing, and being community minded. I mean, we've grown some great relationships here with providers of honey, and
yeah, I saw that.
They are neighbors that we've purchased the eggs. You see the eggs. There's our harvest box, and that looks like mid-season, sort of early, probably week 4 or 5, because we got some raspberries in there. Now raspberries are an early season fruit.
Yeah.
And so
this looks beautiful.
The eggs are provided to us from the family. It's just down the road. It's on the way to the farm, so they actually deliver, but we could pick up along the way. But you can see what we grow. Those are Nance carrots. We like just having the traditional looking straight carrot. And Bob and Janet actually are expert tomato growers. Phenomenal. And this is really what people were coming to the farm for. our first year there, we weren't even dealing with the kiosk. We hadn't been invited to sell our product there. We didn't know that we were allowed to do that until the second year when Bob asked us if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And so what we noticed was that everybody was coming for the tomatoes. And so they, after 30 years, they found the right seed. So they do a beefsteak tomato. It's called a big beef for everybody out there. I'm sure that those seeds are all over the place. And then a Picus Roma.
Roma, yeah.
And they're amazing because you cut them open and they're not hollow at all. They're full of meat and they taste incredible. Like, I've never really been a fan of tomatoes until I came to the farm. And I can eat those like a tomato or like an apple.
Yeah,
really.
dude. Likewise, before I grew my own tomatoes, I never really cared for them at all. I love tomato sauce, but that was it. Growing your own is a different world. And that's
totally
happened
different.
so many times. So many people, like children, like friends of my son have come, had something that my wife and I had grown and changed their whole perspective on that vegetable, you know? And it's like, that's how easy it is. It's unreal.
Yeah. And so that has been bar none for every single product that we sell. We've had more than one person say that's the best tasting blank I've ever had, whether it's a carrot or a beet or a tomato or our salad greens. This is one of those things. I think that, you know, just like good information, it's been somewhat kept from people. And, you know, it's a real eye-opening experience to taste some of these things for the first time.
Yeah.
So
even fresh eggs. What a
Totally,
difference.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that we're highlighting something else, that in your food box is not only what, like, it's not just your vegetables, it's also part of the community in there too. You know, it's already that it takes a village, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This looks
And
amazing.
well, we went from the just purchasing eggs from them and we were selling them at no profit. We looked at it, Andy, as added value because we didn't have the chickens. You'd need a lot of chickens to provide enough eggs. And so we outsourced, incredible family, and now we sell their honey. There's 2 or 3 different types or 4 different types of honeys that they provide. An amazing cream honey. Have you ever seen that before? It's like all white. But
I saw a picture of it on the Hell's Half Acre site, and I was like, wow, that's some raw honey.
It's incredible. I have it on my toast every morning. And I think this is another important thing. Maybe, Meggan, you can talk about your allergies and
please do.
How they kind of got fixed too.
Yeah, I suffer from seasonal allergies. You know, May, June sort of thing, runny nose, watery eyes, thick feeling, you know, swollen eyes, that sort of stuff. So I'd read years ago that one thing you can do is take local honey. And so I started doing that. Probably I started in January, and I take about, you know, half a teaspoon a day. And it has to be local, like it has to be somewhere close by. It doesn't have to be as local as our honey is, but for us, if I can get it somewhere in the Okanagan Valley, because those bees will be going to the pollen that I'm allergic to. Those bees are making the honey from that pollen. So it is phenomenal. I don't suffer from allergies at all anymore.
That's amazing. Yeah, my wife has turned on to this natural remedy thing for a couple of years now, and you know, I'm sick, but I'm nowhere near as sick as I would have been because of all the I can't even remember. She's gonna kill me. I don't remember any of their names, but little tinctures and remedies that come right up out of the ground, you know. But of course, we don't have the local farm to do it yet. You know, we're not. So it's really inspiring to be able to get everything locally like that, because it really does seem to play a big role.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely was like overnight for Meggan and her allergies.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and now their bees, they have hives set up right across the street just because it was an optimum spot for bees. I had no idea that they're supposed to be sort of southeastern facing and away from the wind. I mean, it all makes sense because they're bees. But right across the street now they have a bunch of hives, and as soon as it gets warm enough, man, we have a billion bees around us. No matter where you are at the farm, you have to sort of fight the bees off to get and harvest whatever it is that you're going after. It's just the most incredible thing.
That's so wild. And they're your friends. Like if you don't bother
Yep.
them, they're not going to bother you, and they're
That's
helping your
exactly it.
garden at every step of the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's such an man, just like it's just another little example of something that's kind of been inverted in our eyes and from our
Yeah.
cartoons and everything.
Yeah.
Just fear the bee.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
be
It's like the
fearful of
biggest helper.
bees. I never got stung once last year.
I did get stung
Me either.
twice, but I was
Yeah.
putting my hand, like I was pickling cukes, and you kind of go where the blossoms are. And so I put my hand on a bee. I mean, wouldn't blame the bee at all.
Right. Yeah, it's always happy accidents like that. You know?
Totally. Yeah.
That's great.
So you can keep
guys,
those. Sorry, Megan,
I
if
was
you
gonna
could
say-
keep those pictures just flowing.
Yeah.
Sorry,
you
Andy, go
guys
ahead.
said that you fed over 100 families last year, right?
This year coming
Well,
up
this year
is
coming
our
up is gonna
goal. Yeah, we did 54. We've doubled every year.
Right.
So we're looking at over 100. And we were just calculating sort of the land the last week or so, just looking over how many beds we have. We could probably go to 150 pretty quick. Now, when you start talking about 150 and 200 families, those are huge food boxes. So
Yeah.
that's our goal. We're looking at, we've never discussed anything beyond 200, but that is the goal, is to get to feed 200 families. You think about that, and our targeted demographic would be, a family of 4, 2 growing boys. Generally, we hope that they're in hockey or in sports, and so they got to eat lots. And that's not just 100 people. When you're feeding 100 families, that's 300, 400 people.
Easy.
And that's generally those people around us, and the ones that we love and care for the most, our friends and family. So, it's really been great. This is a late season box. You can see the melon in there. So we do grow some fruit.
Cool. That's awesome.
And I wasn't happy with those carrots this year. They were stubby, funny looking ones. So we went back to the longer gnats this year.
Oh man, the carrots were the weirdest thing for me, because I was like, what? They're all failures. And my wife's like, no, they're not giant GMO from the grocery store. I'm like, oh
Exactly.
yeah, okay.
Yep,
It's
that actually helped us.
so different from what it is in the
job,
grocery
babe.
store. Broccoli's different.
Yeah, and that actually helps us too. Sometimes we'll include the deformed stuff because it adds to the credibility, and we're not about making everything beautiful.
Right.
Although nature does a great job of that itself, but sometimes you have some abnormalities, and as long as it's just aesthetics, we don't mind. We'll throw those in there.
Perfect.
We grow a variety of hot peppers. Jalapenos are our most popular. We put a lot of them in our food box. One of the things we make in our food box, I don't have a picture of it, that's proved to be really popular, is a salsa pack. So we include jalapeno pepper, sweet onion, Roma tomatoes, a tomatillo, which I don't know a lot of your listeners are familiar with tomatillos, but we do that, and we send instructions just to kind of chop them up really fine, kind of almost blend them up, and super popular. It's been one of our actually most popular things in our food box. So we do tons of jalapenos for that. We do sell the salsa pack at the farm as well. We have one customer that will come and buy 5 or 6 at a time, and she will take them and drop them off at her friend's house, like drop them off at their front step and just say, here's a gift. So, which is really quite cool. So hot peppers. Another thing we did this year, here's a variety of hot peppers that we do. Last year, we had a customer from Salmon Arm named Nick. He came and bought a whole bunch of peppers, and he made hot sauce out of our peppers. Nice. So he makes hot sauce. He has a business. So he actually supplies the farm now with his hot sauce, which is made from our peppers. So we have a bunch of that for sale as well, which is really cool.
That's awesome. Talk about closing the loop too. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, any opportunities that we
Yeah.
can add value like that, we're not making any money off of that, but I think, to be more of a one-stop shop for people and, to show up and buy other things that maybe they weren't expecting. And I think that was a really great relationship. We're hoping that it continues this year and, keep providing hot sauces with our veggies in there. I mean, it's really an incredible thing. And also, the reason and where we got the idea for the salsa pack was from it's a Facebook page. And if you're not familiar, I suggest you go out and find it, Andy. It's the Market Gardeners Success Group.
Okay.
And we swear by this. I don't know how many people are on there, Megan.
I have no idea actually, but
Hundreds,
it's great. Yeah. Oh yeah, thousands for sure.
Thousands of farmers, market gardeners that have when you think of all the trial and error and the experience that's on that Facebook page, whenever we've had something that we weren't sure what it was that we were looking at, we would just post it on there. And within minutes, we would have hundreds of people telling us what is going on and best ways to remedy. Or a lot of times they'd say there's nothing wrong. Just keep doing it, because there's times where, we weren't sure. It's just like when we started our microgreens this year, I threw out the first batch because I thought they were all, they were getting moldy, but it was actually just the way that microgreens grow at first with their root system. They get into the soil. So I actually threw out the first 4 thinking that we didn't know what we were doing. And then the second time it happened again, and we looked into it through the Facebook Market Gardener Success Group, and they were like, no, those are fine. Just put them under light and let them grow. So sometimes it's a lot easier than you think too.
Do you guys do a lot of indoor lighting, gardening prep beforehand? Like you did the microgreens off season. That's a lot of lighting. I'm in the same boat right now. I have a lot of indoor growing things going on, and managing the light sources and everything is a whole thing. It's like a learning curve that I'm just getting into right now, really. And I keep getting bigger and better lights as time goes on, because it's just like none of it's like as much as I think it's going to be, to cover everything.
Yeah. So we use a rack system. I think you can get them from Home Depot. They're, the silver sort of generic ones that you can put together yourself. And then we use Sunblaster lights. They're 54 watt. They're low energy, but I think they might even be local or Canadian at least. But yeah, and so we use Sunblasters, and we've probably got, I don't know, 30 or 40 of those lights now. And we started with 2 because they were $50 a shot. We were luckily enough, one of our local providers here had a sale on them. So we were getting 4-foot Sunblasters for $30 each.
Wow.
And so we jumped on that, grabbed 10 of them. And now we've got 4 full racks basically.
Yeah.
And then boxes with lights in them too. And so it's about your lumens. I think they're 6400K, and they've just been great. We can interchange the bulbs, because there's the ones that we use generally are like more of a blue light, but once we see things sprout and come out of the ground, we can change to a bloom light, which is a little more oranger or redder, and we see advantages there too. Even when, we were growing our tomatoes in the tomato house, in the heated tomato house, so it's really a hot house. Sometimes because the sun is so low early in the year, some of them in the tomatoes in the back won't grow as fast, and it becomes noticeable after about 3 weeks or a month. So we actually just took some Sunblaster. They're like this thin, and they're 4 feet, 3 feet, or 2 feet, and the bulb is a real thin diameter. And we just hooked them up with the tomatoes and put them on a regular time pattern with the sun. And within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, maybe, they were all starting to even out again. So, lighting is huge. in the middle of, I think all of our racks are full. I just commented this morning when we were there, is we've got 4 racks, 4 shelves on each. And so you can fit 4 trays on each, and we are maxed out right now.
Wow. That's amazing.
And you have to prep that much.
Yeah. This is just
Yeah.
a picture of kale. Kale can be a bit of an unpopular vegetable, but we grow a variety called red Russian kale, and
Okay.
it's a sweet, crunchy kale with really, really great flavor. So it's actually quite popular. We have
I'll have to
people
look that up because I agree.
Yeah.
We've had trouble trying to enjoy the kale we've grown. We've grown 2 or 3 different kinds, and I was okay with it. My wife didn't like it, but we
Yeah,
wanted
so-
more. We know it's a superfood, so
It is. And you were talking earlier, Andy, about how definitions of vegetables get changed by people when they taste them. This is happening all the time. And red Russian kale is one of those.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
you say to somebody, here, have some kale, and they give you that face like, kale, I don't really,
bitter.
but it's baby kale, so it's smaller. It's not the giant leaf. And you can actually use it in place of romaine lettuce, you know, or you can add it to your salad, or you can just eat it plain. Lots of people will just eat it plain right out of the bag. So I would say look into that red Russian kale. And we got that from Curtis Stone. He was growing a lot of that, and it's cut and come again. So you can harvest a bunch, and in a week it grows back.
goes right
So
back.
that's important, right?
Yeah, that's the most amazing part, where you can literally go outside and get your salad for the next few days.
Yeah.
You know, and then go back outside and do it again.
This is a picture of their lacewing eggs. So it would be a beneficial insect that actually eats other like bad guys like aphids,
Oh,
and I think he eats all sorts of stuff. But one thing
Beneficial.
one thing we've really noticed a big change in our farm is, and this is due to Bob's instruction as well, is for any sort of pests, we don't spray or anything. We're no chemicals, but what we've been doing is buying beneficials, so like beneficial insects
That's all
to
Megan. Megan's taking
to fight
all of it.
other insects. So we go have a company down in, I think it's down in Langley, down the lower mainland of BC, and we get them shipped. I do 2 to 3 shipments a year, and we get, it's called Encarsia formosa, and it's beneficial. It's a wasp. It's a predator wasp.
Tiny little wasp.
Teeny tiny, yeah. And so we get them, and they will go. They will fight against the whitefly, which is a very common greenhouse pest that can be in your. It's usually tomatoes and peppers. You don't really find them outside, but greenhouses really fight with them. We get those guys. We get little aphidites, they're called. They get the aphids, because sometimes, again, in greenhouses, you can have trouble with pests. So they
Tell them how they beat them. Tell them how they conquer.
Also, they lay their eggs inside the pest, and then basically kill them from the inside.
so it's like
Matt-
xenomorphs from Alien, basically.
Totally, yeah.
As a farmer, you couldn't ask for a more efficient, better employee than
Right.
that. And the thing with the aphids and whiteflies are that they do cost you in the end. Like at first, they're kind of harmless, but if you let them go long enough, they will really put you behind the 8 ball. So 2 years ago, we had aphid and whitefly for the first time in the greenhouse. This time of year, we had them. So it was kind of trouble. And Megan went and found out these beneficials, ordered them, got them in. We released them all. Well, it takes like a couple days before you can release them, because they got to hatch or whatever the process is. And then it took about 3 weeks, and we were super patient. This is one of the things that really taught us some patience as farmers, is that you release them, but you don't see really anything happen for the first few days. But then I started seeing whitefly and aphid dead bodies. And so you could start to see the tables turning. And then another week and a half, 10 days or so, it was obvious that the beneficials had won, and the white flies and aphid were on the way out. And by the end of the year, we had no problems.
Mhm.
That's incredible. Just using nature more to our
Yeah.
advantage.
Totally love
And I
it.
and I think the cost was a couple, $300-400. But when you think about having to pay an employee to try to keep your pest pressure down and how much money that would cost. So this is one of the things that we really learned is, these beneficials, and there's other techniques that, you can have as employees.
Mm.
So
Like sacrificial gardens, right? Do
Yeah.
you guys
yeah.
ever
Yeah.
use any of those techniques? Like,
We don't really. We don't like. I've heard of that like planting eggplant and stuff like that because
mm,
a pest might like the eggplant before they'll like your tomato. We don't really. We
Trap
haven't
plant.
really done that.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
we've tried. We're gonna try that more this year, I think. But
Yeah.
we had a squash vine borer problem,
Ooh,
Oh,
and
yeah.
those are an interesting nightmare to deal with because when you see their eggs, they're all in perfect formation, like
Right.
an army on the leaf,
Yeah.
and then suddenly it's too late. It's nuts. So I was out there. My wife had me out there lifting every single leaf up, looking for
Right.
them. It's unreal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing that I can see. It's so easy to see like how laziness and convenience, not just here but specifically here, has kind of invaded our perspective on growing food, and that's part of that fear that comes with it. Like, oh, there's so much to deal with, there's so much to learn, it's all uphill, and it really is. I can say that it really is an uphill situation, but I think the return is very quickly understood. And it's such a return, it feels like free energy.
Yeah. And, when you figure out that beneficials can do what they do and they can really eliminate pest pressure,
Hmm.
then, all of a sudden things are a lot easier to deal with because you figured out a way to handle it. And so that's really what confidence comes from, being able to handle whatever comes your way. And so this year, on top of our first employee and going over 100-member food box and incorporating microgreens and all of these positive things that are going on, that is, another exciting element too, is that we really feel for this, maybe for the first time, we feel like real farmers.
That's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, because, the first 4 years, you talk about laziness or things, excuses get in the way. The first couple years that we would go home, we would be driving past all of these other farms and the farmers would still be out there working.
Right.
So we were like, oh, we're probably cutting corners. We're not giving as much as we should. And so last year and the year before, really, we really committed and we ended up doing 16-hour days, 18-hour days.
Wow.
Not consistently, but when it needed to happen, right? When you
Right.
need to get everything in before May 24th and there's only 2 of you, you have to commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what an incredible feeling we had cracking that beer after we got everything in.
Oh, yeah.
I look at D Block and the 900 tomato plants that we put in there as our little New World Order army.
That's
And so
amazing.
we have those guys growing and all of our fruit and veg is growing while we even sleep. So this was another part of it for me too, is that, this new ordering of our society, we fight against it in our sleep.
Damn
So
right. That's great, man.
there's a great shot of Megan. This is in the tomato house. You can see that the tomatoes are well along. They're taller than her. So this is probably in June or July. And we got peppers in the solo cups about to be transplanted. And, so there's a lot of watering there
Mhm.
to be had. So we just, these cup trays are important to talk about because you can transport 36 of those solo cups all at once. It's got little hand grips, and this is Bob Tucker's invention. And we've taken it and run with it this year again. We've made some shorter ones that are 24, so they're a little easier to handle and go through doors and stuff. But man, that right there, the 36 solo cup holder.
Game changer.
And yeah, and he's probably got 40 or 50 of them, and they stack up at the end of the year. And then as you need them, you get them. And it's just incredible time savers. This Bob is a old engineer, heavy duty mechanic. And so with all of that came some really ingenious ways of dealing with things. And so, you know, when we go out under our own spot, like you're talking about, Andy, being able to really expand your imagination to whatever you want, we're going to be incorporating a lot of the ideas that we see here at Bob's. He uses pulleys and levers all over the place to open multiple vents and doors all at the same time. And it took us literally 3 years to figure out what was going on. You know,
that's so awesome too, that like, you know, through the experience of the trials and tribulations, you don't cut corners, you create shortcuts and create helpful assistance like that, you know?
Yeah. Where
That's
it's just
great.
one push of a button.
Yeah.
Right.
And you open all the vents because it's 100 degrees in the greenhouse, and we need it to drop down to 80 real quick because it gets hot here.
Mhm.
It's just a push of the button, thanks to Bob, and he's set up all of these mechanisms, and all of a sudden all the vents open, and within 5 minutes you're back down to 80 degrees because you don't really have time to deal with that. You're in the middle of 3 other things, right? It's really been a nice thing to be able to just push a button and make things happen. So all of this infrastructure you see was already built when we showed up. We've you know, I've spent ample time refurbishing, fixing up stuff that has to be done, but generally, you know, it's all been or was already there, and Bob built all of this.
He really seemed
So this is in the 40 by 100 foot hoop house.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. No farms, no food, no future.
That's right.
That's Meggan brought that too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where you got that from, but as soon as I heard it, I said, that's got to go on. Sure.
So for our little store that we have at the farm, this is the sign out on the road. So we have, you know, the name or the time, hours that we're open, and just what we have available at the time, which is people know to look at that. We have a big sign down the road that again has what's available, so people know
On the main road.
Yeah, on the main road, to people know to pull in if they see what they want.
That's great.
Yeah, that was all there. Bob built that. It was all out of his mind. We better get signs down onto the main road as people drive by so they know when the tomatoes are ready or the raspberries are ready. And then he has the local sign right at the entry. And because, you know, like cucumbers are a great example. You'll get, you know, the first cucumber of the year and it'll be a slow go. You might get 5, 6 a week, but you know, 2-3 weeks later, you're getting 15 a day. And so the first few cucumbers that come up, they just go onto the local sign. So if the neighbors want some or somebody living up in that area, they know to come there. But until we have 20 or 30 in the kiosk, we don't put it down on the main road because then people tend to come up and get them. And so.
Yeah. That's excellent.
So just a picture. We do, these are called patty pan squash. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No.
They're really quite fun. They're like a zucchini, really popular for just roasting. Some people just roast
on a barbecue.
Yeah. Our employee, Carrie, she says she stuffs them. So she kind of hollows them out and stuffs them. She loves them that way.
Cool.
So just something different.
Yeah, I think you could cut them in half and put them in some tin foil with some butter and throw them on the barbecue for, 5 minutes. They're just amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. I love the
picture
sign.
of pickling cukes. We do a big sales of pickling cukes. Bob and Janet have done them for a number of years, and for us, we just kind of continued on with them. We do our own pickling as well, but every year I think we grow a few more pickling cukes, and last year we couldn't even keep up. We had orders after orders. We get people will order like 20 pounds, people will order 40 pounds. Wow. So we have a calendar. It's same as our tomato sales, is we have big tomato sales of canning tomatoes. People make salsa, that sort of stuff. So the pickling cukes we barely kept up last year. They're really, really popular.
Yeah, and
So
so you're seeing there, if one of those bags is 7 pounds, and that'll be a batch. So if you're
Wow.
working the typical big black pot and you got your 7 jars in there and you're getting it to boil, one of those bags will do one batch. So we just sort of cater to the pickling cube community there. And yeah, it's grown every year because our political situation, our political environment is inspiring people to prepare a little bit more maybe than they used to. And pickling cukes is a great thing to, we probably do, generally we'll have 75 to 100 jars of our own to start the winter.
yeah,
Wow. That's great.
And we
Yeah,
just,
people,
sorry, go ahead, Andy.
oh, just, I mean, people are definitely wanting to prepare more than ever these days. And
yeah,
yeah, up your way with your prime minister, I can only imagine it's pretty hasty to want to get your farms going and your food going
Yeah.
and your that self-sustainability I was talking about because yeah, he doesn't say anything that inspires hope really.
No, no, he has
So,
different interests, obviously, than us. And so,
absolutely.
we're just farmers over here and we're providing food for people and a place for our dog. That's our potato patch.
Oh, it's gotten bigger.
That's a
yeah,
healthy potato patch.
Yes, it is. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. We got everything getting started right now. Well, it's already been getting started. They're all sprouting up out of the dirt in their
Nice.
little cups and everything, and oh, it's another year coming. We'll see what's going on. We're trying to move too. We're trying to find a new place to live to get more land, right? So
Oh, yeah.
my wife is so worried that we're going to find something after she's already grown this next year's crop and feel like
Right.
so guilty that she has to leave it behind or something. I'm like, we won't leave it behind, or if we do, we're leaving it hopefully to the next people that will be coming in, and maybe
Mhm.
that'll inspire them to keep it going because the last thing she wants is for someone to tear it down,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
you've worked so hard on it.
Yeah, that happened to us when we sold our house too. One of the first years, it was actually before we started a farm, but yeah, we sold a house and we had to leave a garden behind.
yeah,
Oh, it's gonna be painful for sure, but
It was, yeah.
I saw this when I was just seeing this, the environment friendly pest insect control. That's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. It's something we did last year for the first time, and we'll continue on for sure. But yeah, we brought these praying mantis. Now, success, because when we were taking down the potato patch at the end of the year with Carrie, Duane and Carrie, between the two you guys, how many did you praying mantis egg sacs did you find? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I would say 3 or 4. I found 2. And so that's what those are there, that you can buy them like that. And you just hang them about a foot above the ground somewhere in the shade and you give them time and the praying mantises are released. And by the end of the year, if you find more, then that means that those praying mantises actually are found success. So this is another thing that we look forward to this year is hopefully we see a lot more praying mantises. Now these guys will eat anything. So this is a minimal cost. And I encourage everybody because this is what allows us to not spray,
Okay.
not to use any chemicals, because these guys
So this is your
feast on
hitman.
aphids. Yeah. He's like the greatest employee you could ever see, coolest looking dude ever too.
Totally.
And Bob had one on his chest pocket last year. He didn't know it, but he was just sitting there. And it's actually one of those moments that I'll always remember. Bob realizing that it was on him, he didn't panic or anything because he'd seen them before, and he just took it off his chest pocket and hung it in a tree. And I don't know how many of those we have around there, but hopefully this year we get to see a few hundred. That would be nice.
Yeah, because those ones that you guys found, you guys put them into the hedgerow there. So what these guys need to basically go through a winter to freeze in order to come back again. So once it starts warming up, I think they take a consistent between 10 and 13 degrees, that's Celsius, of course, for them to hatch. So obviously we have a ways to go here, but then the egg sacs will hatch and we'll have lots of babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And to
incredible.
me,
I didn't
there's
know that
nothing.
about these guys, that they could be like a natural pest insect.
They're
Yeah.
they just eat like crazy. They will, if you're suffering under a little bit of bug pressure and one of these guys comes along, it really doesn't matter what kind of bug it is, he will feast or she will feast.
Jeez.
Yeah, I highly recommend looking into beneficials for anybody that wants to grow food seriously or just even for themselves. And, you want to get it to your plate,
Mm.
hire a praying mantis.
Yeah. I like how you put it.
So a couple pictures of radishes, just a couple. I've got a few kind of harvest pictures. So one of our really popular early season root veggies is radishes. We do red radish. We do a rainbow radish. I'm not sure if I have a picture.
Yeah.
No, but so a
Multicolored radish.
multicolored radish. Yeah, they're white, pink, dark red. But they're really popular. They've got that spice to them. They're really, really popular in our food
What do
box.
they
And
call
lots of
that?
people come up to the farm. So
Those are the reddest radishes,
Those
the
are
reddest
really
red
red.
radishes I've ever seen, even just from my screen.
So we do a rainbow blend of carrots as well. We don't
Nice.
kind of grow them together in the same bed, but we do orange. We do a red that's actually called Malbec, like the
Mhm.
wine. And we do a white carrot as well. So funny story about the white carrots. The first year we grew them, they grow way faster than the orange carrots do. So we know now to plant them a little, if we want to make a mix, like I've got right here, we know we have to plant them a little bit later, like maybe a couple weeks. But the first year we grew them, they grew so big. We had huge carrots, these big, white, ugly carrots. Like we thought they were ugly. So we threw a bunch of them away, put them in the compost. We were like, these things are, they look bad. Even Bob made fun of them. He was like, what are these big, ugly, white things? And we were like, oh, I don't know, it's our carrots. So we tossed a bunch of them. Then we actually cut a few open and tasted them. They were delicious.
Oh, wow.
And I
So
actually didn't know that they were carrots. I thought they were turnip or something at first.
Parsnips, they look like parsnips.
Parsnip.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're really, really good. They have such a great sweet flavor. So now we just know we just plant them a couple weeks behind.
And I think each one of these different carrots has different nutrient benefits, different benefits to the body and stuff like that. I know my wife was growing the dark purple ones or the red ones on purpose for something. I can't remember what. But
That's
yeah,
good to know.
pretty
We
cool.
just do it basically for aesthetic value. We like the look of a rainbow carrot in the bag rather than just orange, but we will provide just orange carrots too. And we get requests for just white ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me them alien fingers.
Yeah.
The big ugly white things.
That was actually the first thing that we ever sold through the kiosk was the big ugly carrots, and they
That's
sold
awesome.
like crazy.
That's awesome.
So that's a picture of our raspberries at the kiosk. That's
Yeah.
where everybody comes to purchase things.
Beautiful. What's that? The
There's
dog
these
is laying
kind of waterproof seeding boxes to keep all of our seeds in. We have like a spice container, and then we keep them in these boxes just in case the box happens to get wet or anything. They're waterproof, so that's we keep our seeds in. And then obviously Ripley decides it's a dog bed as well.
Well, everything starts with your seeds. So, that's actually, I think it's a gun kit or a tool kit that we just made into a seed container like that. And now we have 3 or 4 of them.
Nice.
And, if you lose your seeds, you're in trouble. So we do as much as we can to keep them safe and secure.
And so, do you? Man, I'm not as good as my wife, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But like, you have to basically sacrifice certain plants to get the seeds, or can you get all the veggies and fruits out of? I don't know. That's kind of a dumb question, because we're still stuck in that situation where we're buying a lot of seeds. So I'm just still trying to understand the process. And at your stage, you guys are just reseeding everything, which is great.
Well, we purchase every year to do what you're talking about, to actually harvest your own seeds at the end of the year. We have done that, and we have seeded them, and to a varying degrees of success. But you have to get another level serious if you want to do that kind of thing, because you have to isolate whatever it is that you want to have go to seed and then harvest those seeds. Generally, you have to isolate those things because there can be cross-pollination and all kinds of issues. And,
True.
that it's a finicky situation, but that is definitely a goal of ours, is to be able to have our own seeds. This is one of the goals of ours, is really to be self-sustainable. And you can't be self-sustainable if you're purchasing your seeds every year, but right now that's what we do.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I assumed that you guys are getting all your own seeds, but that makes me feel better. You guys, even where you're at, you're still in that same boat. And like you said, you mentioned legacy earlier. Seeds is legacy, in my opinion. Like,
yes,
especially with all the fear pouring out there of what they might do to seeds.
Yes,
that selling it as like a positive, seeing articles come out like, hey, you can get mRNA in your seeds, like, and it'll be right in your gardens and you won't even have to worry about getting your shots. And it's just like, okay, we need to really think about how we're getting our hands on as many heirloom seeds as humanly possible.
Yeah.
My wife's like, I'm already on it, blah, 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 blah. She's listing off all these things. I'm like, okay, gotta get on this.
Generally, seeds have a shelf life too. You can't just keep them forever. And, after 2 or 3 years, generally, most seeds are going to have difficulty germinating. So we generally purchase every year.
Yeah.
But we would love to be able to create our own seeds, to be fully self-sustainable is the goal here.
Yeah, because we're talking about where, in our last conversation, Duane and I had, we were talking a lot about groups of people that, have ownership over many, many interesting seed banks around the world that aren't, we're not privy to. So if you want to know what's important to these people, it's, they know it too. They're onto the same.
And not only just the seeds, but the land in general is being purchased up by some people that, don't have any interest at all in farming.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's actually another. Yeah, and that's another advantage too that we have in leasing land, and other people, the opportunity is there too, because you may not own land, but if you're leasing it and you're managing it, you may have some say in where that land gets sold to eventually too. So
yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
So just a couple pictures of Ripley on the farm. Here's our little helper.
She's awesome.
That's her first year.
Yeah.
I still have that.
Yeah.
All chewed.
So this is our salad green mix. We, for a number of years, have used a salad green mix called Fast and Furious. So named because it grows quickly. And it's a salad blend. So it has historically it has had 2 different types of green leaf and 2 different types of red leaf lettuce, and we take the leaves off. We harvest the leaves. We don't cut the whole head off. It was tough to find for a couple of years, so we did do some seed saving. Funny you should mention it. So we did a little bit of seed saving from those. Yeah. I didn't find the seeds were as good as the parents. But it's now available again. So I bought quite a bit. So this is what the salad mix looks like. This is what we sell to the Bohemian Cafe. They make a lot of meals out of it, but they do use it a ton for their catering. I know that as well. Remember, Duane, we did a few years ago, we sold them a lot for an event they were doing. And they went and they picked out, because the bride and groom didn't want any purple lettuce in their mix. So they went and picked out every piece of purple lettuce. Now, had the Bohemian, I think, known before, we could have probably given them, because we harvest them, we could have probably given them greens with just green.
Yeah, they were using our salad greens to cater weddings. That was a really cool experience, to hear that.
Yeah. So this is a bit more of a mix. I can see there's a bit of kale in there. So this is probably, oftentimes we'll mix beet greens in with our salad green mix, kale, arugula if we happen to have it, just to make it a nice blend. So it's really popular.
We
Yeah, you
learned
kind
that
of
from
want to
Curtis Stone's
compete.
book.
You want to be able to compete with the convenience that's offered at grocery stores, you know?
Totally. Yep. So good picture of what our salad greens looks like.
Baby leaf.
So fresh.
We try to harvest smaller for the restaurant. So there's different sort of specifications. A restaurant will like the baby leaf. It just looks nicer. It tastes sweeter.
Right.
So we do all of everything ourselves over time. We get our signs done, and the radish sign, you know, when we first got up to the farm, there wasn't a lot of traffic coming to the farm. So we made signs that said radish, salad greens, kale. And we just went down and drove them into the dirt so that when people were driving by, they would notice. And we started generating some clientele coming up there for those early season stuff. And so that's how we did it. We just built signs, and, you know, we just do the things that come to mind and keep the ones that are successful and try to find another way to do things when they don't work out.
So here's a picture of our tomatillo. I mentioned them earlier. They're kind of a little bit of a different fruit, I'll say, because they're like a tomato. Quite popular, but a lot of people don't really know what they are. They're like a Mexican tomato, really. You pick them, they grow in this husk, and you wait until the husk basically separates, until the tomatillo grows large enough for it to pop its husk open. And then they're ripe. Kind of the uglier they look, the more ripe and better they are. So they're kind of a fun. We put them in our salsa pack. A lot of people will buy like bulk to make salsa, but we put them in our salsa pack, and people really like them. We've got a bit of a flavor between. They're sweet. The flavor between, what do we always say, like a strawberry and a kiwi, kind of.
Yeah, that's what I think. They're very amazing. And again, that's something that Bob and Janet were doing when we showed up there, and we decided just to, if it wasn't broken, we don't need to fix it. So we just learned how they did it and continued on, because they had a lot of customers that wanted to keep coming there. We didn't want to alienate them at all. We wanted to, you know, make sure that some of the things, the important things that were still attracting their clientele, we wanted to keep going. Plus, the tomatillo is an amazing thing. There's hardly anybody here in Kelowna that does them.
Yeah.
And it's really the reason why our salsa pack is so popular. It brings a certain taste, flavor to it. It's just incredible.
You know, I gotta mention a weird little synchronicity that just yesterday or the day before in the grocery store was the very first time in my life that I've ever seen the word tomatillo.
Really?
And saw
Really?
them,
Yeah.
and I was like, I wonder what those are to myself. And we just walked by. It wasn't anything. That was the end of the story, but just interesting that you guys
There
bring
you
this
go.
random fruit up.
Well, next time, grab one.
Absolutely.
And
No,
cut
now
it
you've
up and
inspired
try
me.
it. Yep, definitely, because they're very good.
They're really good.
I'm
And
not
I
sure
love
what you can
salsa,
put them
so
in.
I'll be making my own.
That's
You
right.
can put them in salsa, and I'm not sure what else you can put them in, but we put them in salsa, and it's super popular.
Cool.
So
Wow, it's a good
here's
view.
the first year that we were in the farm, we weren't even allowed on the backside, and this is a picture of the backside. This is E block, so there's, I don't know, 20 something beds there that we can grow in the 30-inch wide, but where we are here is in the potato patch. This is the first year I was allowed to use the hiller. And so Megan talked about at the beginning how Bob has 4 or 5 little smaller tractors. They all have their own duties and reasons to come out. And so this one, you can see it's equipped with a little hiller on the back, and you just drive it down and actually you can see I'm about half done there from the sprinkler down. You can see some of the hills that I've done, and so I just got off the tractor and took a picture. And so it creates this deep valley that you plant your tomato in the bottom, and then you come back over and you can cover them. And so this is just one of those tractors. It's just showing you sort of the backside. Bob is very reluctant to let me drive anything with four wheels.
So just some more harvest pictures. This is our zucchini. We try to harvest them smaller. They're much better and sweeter that way. And yep, just some little bit more harvest pictures. Oh, microgreens. So so this is kind of what we just started this year. We've talked about it for years, but we just started this year growing microgreens. So here's a picture, Andy, of our shelving unit and our lights. So we've got the lights.
Those are the sun blasters, right?
Yeah, those are the sun blasters. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got two lights for each shelf, basically.
And those, when I said that they came $30 a piece, they come with a little reflector over top of them too. So, that's really probably a $60 bulb for half price. So we got that from a local supplier here called Quick Grow, and they cater to the weed growers. So just for everybody's information, I would go search out those places if you're interested in growing microgreens or doing anything. Well, even when you're growing your own food, because a lot of times the prices will be, generally a lot cheaper there. So, if you were anything like us at the beginning, where even buying a thing of starter soil was a lot of money, then I would go to these places that cater to the weed industry, because for whatever reason, they sell things for a little bit cheper.
That is
I wonder if that's different down here. What's the legal status of cannabis up there?
Well, I don't know if it's decriminalized or legal. Nothing's really prevented me from smoking it.
No, of course not. But it's all the stuff that you're talking about. It's like really overpriced where I look, because it's geared towards cannabis.
Right.
Because the industry is booming here. You can throw a stone and hit 6 dispensaries.
Yes.
Yes.
They are everywhere here. They're like a 7-Eleven. The government's talked bad about it my whole life until they got in the business.
Right, exactly. Yeah. We've always been saying tax it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, wait, taxes are stupid.
Yeah, that's just
I digress. The microgreens, I keep hearing that this is like a really great way for people to get into growing their own food too, because it's I don't know. I guess did you guys find that it's fairly easy to get microgreens started and get them going?
Yep. Yeah. A little bit of learning. I did a lot of YouTube videos. Watched a lot of Curtis Stone. He went through quite a few. He actually, the ones I watched, he went to different microgreen kind of farms. I guess you call them a farm or microgreen producers or whatever. So I kind of learned quite a bit from that. One of the websites that I've learned a lot from is called Bootstrap Farmer, and they have a lot of like kind of more written stuff. So I learned a lot from that. So microgreens are a little bit different. So we got these narrow or like shallow trays. We put the soil, we grow them in soil, same soil that we use for all of our starting. Put a layer of soil, you spread the seeds on, and you don't cover the seeds. So in lieu of covering them, basically you stack the trays. We're stacking just 2 at a time. I think you can stack more, but right now we're just stacking 2 at a time. Stack them, cover, basically you're going to black them out. You want to make sure that they're not going to get any light. Stack them and put weight on top of them. So we were using some wood for weight, but we actually went and bought some these large concrete pavers. And so it's quite a bit of weight. So we stack them for basically 3 or 4 days in the dark, but you have to make sure they're warm enough. So don't, put them in the dark somewhere on the floor. So after that, you uncover them. So they grow. So that is going to force the roots down into the soil by weighting them. And then you take the weight off and they look hilarious because they're actually quite sprouted. They can actually even push that weight up, and that's a concrete paver.
Wow.
So when you uncover them, they are yellowy white because they've had no light. They're hilarious. Right. So we just uncovered a bunch of them today. So basically what I've got the picture of is what our system looks like right now, because I just uncovered them, especially the bottom two. The bottom two are definitely just uncovered, and they will grow so fast. I seeded those a week ago. on Thursday, and I uncovered them today. And by Thursday, 2 of those trays are going to be ready. They're taking a week right now. And these aren't super warm temperatures even for us. We do have them under lights, but it's not as warm as it's going to be. So they grow remarkably fast. We've grown 6 different types so far. We want to make sure, we want to have them available for our food box and for our little kiosk customers. But so we're just kind of defining what types so far. That's why we're trying a couple different types. And so we're just giving them away to our friends right now. Every time my friends see me, they get more microgreens, which they're thrilled about. I mean, why would you complain about that? But they are such a nutritional powerhouse because they grow so quickly. They have all the nutrients in like the little tiny microgreens. So they are phenomenally good for you.
That's inspiring too.
And everybody note that we've made germination jackets, and what that really is like lumber cover. You see trucks driving by with their lumber and they'll have covers on them. Well, those get thrown in the garbage at your local hardware stores. And so we just used to grab those, and all I did was cut them to the size of the rack, and they're just a jacket that goes over top to make sure that the temperatures and everything stay consistent, because this is really a controlled environment. Here is your friend. So you can see that we've got thermometers here, and they've got a temperature and a humidity gauge, so that we can open up the germ jacket and have a look at exactly what humidity is going on and what temperature it is. So you want actually relatively low humidity for microgreens. And so we keep it down around 40 humidity, and the optimum temp is 75,
around
80, 70
Fahrenheit.
Yeah. And so then we just, you do whatever you can to make sure that the environment's consistent. And we talk about how things can get complicated on a farm. Well, when you figure out the system and the ways to do it, it simplifies everything. What you're looking at there that's Megan's work. She's really taken the ball and run with it with the microgreens. And this is, within a month of you learning and going from learning on a YouTube to doing it yourself. And we really haven't run into any issues.
Wow.
So
this is something that I really want to get into as well. My wife's mentioned it too.
Yeah. And so you look at the amount of space it takes up. People start their businesses in a spare room, and there are people out there making well over 6 figures selling this stuff to local restaurants. And again, this is one of those things that people just can't wait for. This isn't a fad. This isn't, don't wait for this to not be popular anymore, because it's only growing. And I talked to a lot of people about being in a society that they don't necessarily want to be in. So, this is a great place to still be working and doing whatever it is that you are doing, but to make some supplemental income and to start maybe taking a foot out of that society if you really wanted to get out, because it's very tough for somebody just to overnight quit their job and start this. So this is really, for me, this is probably one of the best ways for people to get out of the society if they don't want to be in it. It's an entrepreneurial sort of deal, and you have your own business. You control your own labor now, and you're selling some of the best food, and it takes up very little room. You have multiple markets that you can sell to, and you get high return profit for very little labor, time, and cost. A lot of it is really upfront. If you look at that rack system and everything entailed there, you're up and running for less than $1,000. I would say easily there. You could probably do 2 racks, and you could be supplying a restaurant within a month if you were a hustler and you really wanted to get going. And maybe even not even that, the way that this market is, you could just, all you really need to do is put yourself in front of people and provide your product. And I would not be shocked that within a month or so, you could be supplying restaurants with a great deal of microgreens and, you know, wondering what you're going to do with the next step.
Right. It's always the next step. I find that the more you do on your own, the more projects you take on like this, the more you want to take on more.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's a
And
good
I
thing.
think that's
super.
a really great message to kind of give to everybody, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's super easy. There's really no risk involved. So all of these excuses that people have, they don't exist. It's
Right.
really just up to you if you want. It's there and it's available, and you know, this market is so massive that, you know, we could have 30 microgreen providers in this city and you'd still need more.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
as a farmer, they're fun to grow and satisfying. Everything takes so long when you grow ordinarily, right? We
Yeah.
planted our garlic in November. We won't harvest that until July. Like
Right,
garlic
yeah.
is the longest thing to wait
We
for.
love
And even-
garlic. We feel
Yeah.
that pain. Yeah.
yeah, but even like carrots take all summer to grow, just
Yeah.
about. Whereas these microgreens, you seed them and you're harvesting them just about right away. So
You're like,
that's
oh, see
fun
what I
for
did?
us.
Look how talented I am.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. Guys, this has been so amazing to hear the whole ins and outs of the story and get to know everything you're selling. I hope you can show this to people in your area. I hope it gets more customers involved. I hope it gets more people interested in growing their own food, growing microgreens. You know, like we're talking about, it really can start small. It can start simple. You don't have to be a genius or, you know, it's very easy to get going. You just have to have the motivation and the will to do it, you know?
Yep. We certainly appreciate you allowing us on here to tell our story, because I think that it is important for people to see that things are happening and we are not the only ones doing these things.
Not by a long shot.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the other things too is that it needs to be said is that this farm really made a man out of me. It makes a man out of whoever attempts it. And it makes it's made a woman out of Meggan in many ways, because, you know, it's the great equalizer of farm. It doesn't listen to excuses. You're interfacing directly with Mother Nature. And if you don't put in the necessary effort and work, it shows in the product. So, you know, for a guy like me that wasn't maybe necessarily as disciplined as I needed to be my whole life, well, it forced me to be. And so now I see the advantages of being disciplined and, you know, having order and all those kinds of things that lead to success. They're all habits of successful people. And for whatever reason, you know, I didn't have them all within me, and the farm forced me to be that person. So it's not just about, you know, providing food for people. I mean, all of that is so super great, but it really, you grow too through all of this. If you're committed and you're doing it for the right reasons, you grow into a really well-rounded individual, which for much of our talks before, Andy, that's a perfect antidote to the type of government and stuff that's going on now, is to be a well-developed individual. So
It starts with you.
Yeah.
Starts with you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity, for sure.
Oh, you're welcome. I really appreciate it. And I think it's nice that I can take a break from talking about gloom and doom topics and move to more solutions. You know, I do this every once in a while, but not enough. So I want to do more of it. And you know, we keep mentioning that you guys aren't the only ones. Well, I'm sure many listeners out there know that there's other podcasters involved in this community that are doing very similar things. And maybe we could get like a big roundtable discussion together. I don't even know what the specific topic would be, but just to talk about how great self-sustainability is and you know, offer some advice for people out there listening. You know, I think it would be a great opportunity to get to make some new acquaintances, get some more connections going, and yeah, we'll have to get something like that in the works if you guys would be willing to come back. I know
Yeah.
I would love to have my wife meet the both of you and have a conversation like this to further it. And yeah, this has been really wonderful. I really appreciate what you guys do and what you're bringing to the table. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all.
Please, if my listeners haven't already devoured everything on bulletproofpub.com, please tell the audience where they can find some information about Hell's Half Acre.
Meggan, you want to do that?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, Hell's Half Acre Farms. We do have Instagram as well, and I believe that's _ Hell's Half Acre Farms. And we are starting a YouTube site just this year. So yeah, I do have the site. There's nothing on it, so it's pretty hard to search right now. But this will be hopefully one of our first videos. And Carrie and I are going to work on videos for it. Duane wants to be kind of behind the scenes. So Carrie and I are going to do videos of harvesting, seeding, transplanting, all sorts of stuff. So just kind of learning videos and just get people interested in what we're doing.
Absolutely. That's so great. That's going to help so many people. And I will definitely share that YouTube page as soon as you guys go live with it.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Excellent. This is great.
That'll be the first video.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, please go check out Hell's Half Acre on Instagram and Facebook, soon to be YouTube.
Yep.
And if you haven't already, please go to www.bulletproofpub.com and please read some of the work that Duane has put out. Go back and listen to the episodes that we did. Also the one with Andy Gerard as well. That was mind-blowing. I'm so upset that I missed out on the conversation you guys had this past weekend. The voice was completely gone. There was no point. I would have been just dead in the water, but I hope it went well. And I hope to revisit some of those topics too when I need more gloom and doom and more reason to seek solutions.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
actually, I look at the work that we do and understanding history as a whole solution too. In much the same way that our farm is, I provide the information and get out of the way.
Damn right. It's holistic. It has to be. You move through a problem by creating the solution. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out this episode, and please go check out all the amazing work these two are doing. Thank you, Duane. Thank you, Meggan, for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Deep Share Podcast. If you want to hear more, then hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all the social places. And remember, think for yourself, but don't always believe what you think. Till next time.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone.
What do we know? What do we know? If I know what we know, then I can tell you what we know, and if someone else knows, okay?